Before we start the video, quick announcement. This month, through Patreon, you can join for just $7 instead of $10 and gain access to my server, which includes notes, weekly lessons, and more. Your support helps fund thumbnails, editing, and other content. Jazakumullah khair. Now, let's get back to the video. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Inshallah, today, guys, we're going to be doing the same thing for the past couple days that we've been doing, which is asking Christians to prove to us that the Trinity is true. We're going to be using scriptural and historical arguments here, primarily, to try and show that the Trinity fails on both grounds critically. So let me post the link and let's get this started. So Christians, the link is there. Those people that have already joined, like up the live, inshallah. Let's make sure that we can push out the live out in the algorithm. So if you have any Christian associates, people that you know that are Christian, that you can invite to the live, they're more than welcome to join. We keep it respectful here. Do you think the New Testament teaches that Jesus is God? No, I don't think it teaches that he's God. I think some parts of the New Testament teaches he is a God, some parts, but for the most part, no, he's not God. And even if he is presented as a God, he is a lesser deity compared to the Father, even in the Gospel of John. Yeah, it was a massacre. It was a massacre. Alex, you Christian or Muslim? Yeah, but I think it's your mic. Your mic generally is not that clear, I think, from what I've noticed. Yeah, Jesus is called a prophet in some passages, but he's also called God in some passages too. How we reconcile that is some parts have a lower Christology, right? And also he can be a prophet and a God at the same time. The same way that Moses was a prophet and a God in the Old Testament. He's literally called a God. Or the judges in Israel called gods in Psalm 82. So they're lesser deities in that sense. Yeah. So inshallah, let's try to get some Christians up here. Let me pin the link. The StreamYard. Okay, guys, make sure you like up the live so we can try and get some people in here. Guys, there's only 15 likes and there's about 50 people watching. Everyone, you have to make sure that you like the live in order for it to be pushed out. If you don't like it, it won't be pushed out. And please, no Muslims in the backstage. Yeah, he wouldn't counter. The thing is, his arguments aren't even his own. He just copy pastes from, and regurgitates from who knows where, just some garbage pit. Can you tell me why the Bible was made 1500 BC and the Quran 600 CE? Yeah, because the Quran was meant to be the final message, while the Bible has parts of the previous messages. It's quite simple. Can we join to ask questions? I mean, we did that pretty much the whole time yesterday. But I guess if there's no Christians, then okay, yeah. All right. So if you're a Muslim and you're going to come up, you can only ask questions on the Trinity, though. Let's try to make it relevant to the topic. So if any Muslim wants to come up, you can come up, but it's got to be on something about the New Testament or the Old Testament or the Trinity or Jesus' divinity. You can watch both, bro. Just leave both tabs open. Yeah, send them the link, bro. It's an open. I literally go on open panel for hours for the past week. Everyone's more than welcome to come on. Just send them the link. Obviously not, bro. No way. The answer why Muhammad SAW said sun sets on the that's not that doesn't go back to the Prophet. There's a difference between this and the other chains that go back to the same source. This part of the hadith is sahih. The part about the muddy spring isn't sahih. Okay. I mean, you can send me on Discord or wherever, Instagram, the link where he made that claim, and I can refute it, inshallah. So, yeah, that the scholars have already said there's a defect on that hadith that's not found in other versions of the hadith. So most likely the person who's reciting this got it confused with the Quran verse and yeah, accidentally added it. So this was refuted a long time ago. Depends on the Protestant. Depends on the Protestant. However, it's still very, very problematic, even if they put no emphasis on the church fathers. Okay, so what? Like, where are you gonna find any Trinitarians before Nicaea? Like, you don't just have the church fathers. You have any Christian that's writing at that time, not just the church fathers, and they have no one, right? So even if they put zero emphasis on them, there's still no one that believes in the Trinity. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
How you doing, akhi?
Yeah, I have a question about John 8:58 and Exodus 3:14 because
Yeah,
Christians, they like to say that since Jesus said before Abraham was I am, and in Exodus 3:14 God replied to Moses, I am who I am. They like to link that and say that Jesus was claiming divinity. So how do you refute this?
yeah. So the way to refute it is very simple. So you got to ask the person if you we can concede to him and say, yeah, John believes that Jesus pre-existed. He existed before his birth. Okay, that's fine. Does that prove that Jesus is God?
Well, no.
Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing is he has a major assumption to think that Jesus is quoting Exodus just because they're similar in a way, just because they have similar wordings. But my justification to say he's not referencing the Exodus 3:14 is because we have church fathers who quote from John and that believe Jesus is a lesser deity based on John. Okay, so does the I am in Exodus, is he a god that can be contained
Um, yeah, we know.
in his divinity? In his divinity,
It
not
does.
yeah.
Yeah,
Can
well,
he
I'm
be contained?
confused.
So God, if God doesn't put on a human nature, no human nature, can God in his divinity be contained in a place?
Nope.
No. Okay. Thank you. And God in his divinity again, right? Is the
Yeah,
God in Exodus 3:14 a God that had a time where he didn't exist as a person?
yeah,
There was a time where God didn't exist as a person.
yeah.
Where are you getting this from? Christians don't believe that.
Oh wait, no, no, no. They believe that the sun was eternal, right?
Yeah, the son as a person is eternal. That's what they
Yeah,
believe, right?
yeah,
So That's my question. Do they believe that God at one point, Yahweh, Exodus 3:14, that I am, do they believe that that God existed as an attribute and then existed as a person, or do they believe that he always existed as a person?
He always existed.
Okay, so those 2 points I gave you, being contained and not being eternal.
Okay.
Theophilus of Antioch quotes the Gospel of John and believes in these two things I just said. So if he has the Gospel of John, he has John 8:58, he has apostolic succession, he knows the Greek, and he is the earliest commentary on John, John 1:1, and he tells us that Jesus lacks qualities of the I am, despite him knowing John 8:58. Then it's logical to assume that yeah, John 8:58 isn't clear about Jesus being the I am, because Theophilus, if he believed he was the I am, he wouldn't believe that Jesus has these deficiencies, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me pull this up for you, Akhi.
Okay. Is
Um,
are those notes in your Discord server?
yes, aren't you on the server?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, so easy. Yeah, Akhi,
I
are you on
can
your
find.
PC
Yeah, I'm on my PC.
right now on stream on your PC? You can literally put it up now, but just make sure you don't show all the notes, okay? So tell me when you're ready. You can show it to
Okay.
everyone in the live. So click on Theophilus. Theophilus on the Dean's notes, early church father section. Okay, look
Yeah.
for Theophilus. Yeah, and then
Yeah.
on the very last quote. Yeah,
Yeah. So do I share screen or?
yeah, you can share your screen.
Can you see it?
Yeah, just get Discord up.
So these.
Yeah, so just click on the last one, the last image.
Okay.
Yeah, leave it. Leave it. Okay. So exactly what I just told you now, it's right there on the quote, right? So the first part, it says, "You will say then to me, you said that God are not to be contained in a place, and how do you now say that he walked in paradise? Hear what I say: the God and Father, indeed of all, cannot be contained and is not found in a place, for there is no place for his rest. But his word, through him he made all things, being his power and wisdom, assuming the person of the Father and Lord of all, went to the garden in the person of God and conversed with Adam." So he's saying that the Father can be contained. Jesus, before he became a human, was contained in the Garden of Eden with Adam. Okay.
Okay.
Then his commentary on John. So he has John with him right there in the highlighted part. John says, "In the beginning was the Word. The Word is with God." So obviously John in John 1:1 he believes Jesus pre-existed, right? Well, we're gonna say to the Christian, sure, John believes that, no problem. Showing that at first God was alone. Who's God that was alone?
The Father.
The Father, and the Word in him. Do Christians believe that?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Jazakallah khair.
Oh, yeah, okay. So pretty much like any one of these arguments they're going to give you, you always have to tell them any passage from the New Testament they give you or the Old Testament. You tell them, okay, if it's is it clear that the Trinity's there? Is it clear that Jesus is equal with the Father? If they say yes, then all you need to tell them is, if it's clear, show me one person before Nicaea that believed in it. So one example I just gave you now is Theophilus. If you go through the Theophilus notes, akhi, you find him
Yeah.
saying you should only worship the Father. You find him saying Jesus was begotten by the will of the Father, like literally like a temporal thing. Yeah,
Oh,
you
okay.
you find other quotes from him where he says these sort of things. So what you find is not just Theophilus, Justin Martyr, and all the other church fathers, the Irenaeus, etc. They all didn't believe in it. And had it been clear from the Bible, that these guys would have believed in it because they knew the Greek, they had apostolic succession, and they're closest to the time. Yeah, does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah. Okay.
All right,
Okay.
okay.
Thank
Salam
you.
alaikum.
Walaikum
No, it's a different Theophilus. This is Theophilus of Antioch. He's in the 2nd century. Okay, there's no more guests backstage. So, guys, make sure you like up the live, share the live, inshallah. Okay. These church father things, you read them. If you want the actual source I read it from, it's from New Advent. Is the beyond your brother? Nah, nah. Maybe brother from another mother though. Before Abraham, Yahweh seems like Jesus is telling that Yahweh is telling the news. That's one way, but I think it's pretty clear John is saying Jesus pre-existed. Can I access your Discord for free? Um, I mean, no one really has access for free. I would have to keep it free for everyone then. Want to refute testify in his live now? In this live now? Nah, I'd rather speak to people live right now. Maybe refute them later, inshallah. What's my ethnicity? My ethnicity is I'm Lebanese. I was born in the US. I live in Australia. So, hello.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I had a question similar to the one before. So yeah, I brought this up to a Christian, and I don't know that much about the church fathers, so I had a hard time answering it. But he gave a quote from Clement of Alexandria,
Okay.
and it's like there was then a word importing in unbeginning eternity as also the word itself that is the Son of God, who being by equality of substance one with the Father is eternal and uncreate.
Uncreated, yeah. So, what's that reference from?
It says fragments part one. Let
Fragments
me
Part 1. I don't know what book that is.
from the Latin translation of Cassiodorus 3712. I could send a link.
Yeah, do you have me on Discord?
No.
Okay. You can add me just in response.
Okay, let me. Okay, I sent it. Wait.
Okay. So first you have to see if this is authentic to the individual. But did your friend defend the ones that I've shown to be not church fathers? Like, did he defend Irenaeus, Justin Martyr, these individuals, Theophilus?
Nope. They just sent like an article because they were
What?
like they're Catholic
Yeah.
and they just sent like some Catholic article. Let me find the original article. I'm pretty sure they just searched it up like after I brought it up. Uh, church fault? No, it's not this one. Yeah,
Okay.
it's
So
over here.
so give me what was the quote they gave you?
This is the quote. Let me send it real.
But they have a bunch of stuff from like Irenaeus and Justin Martyr. Why aren't they bringing you that? And Tertullian, like this guy's a joker. Whoever made this is a joker.
I mean, I read the other quotes like by Justin Martyr, Ignatius, and in the only begotten. Like the one from Irenaeus, there's like a bunch of question marks, and I'm not sure like what it's actually saying. Like this
Oh,
website
at the
looks pretty
beginning of
bad.
the word, he again unites him, then exhibit. But bro, like they're just bringing a bunch of ambiguous statements from them that's not clear that they believe that he's the same power and he has the same eternality, right?
Yeah.
Like, how do they like? Did they give you? They can't just give you some words that they bring or some sentences they bring that sounds Trinitarian, and then ignore all the stuff that's clear that they're not Trinitarian. Like, did they give you a response to how they quote Mark 10:18 as only the Father is good? Did they give you a response to like Irenaeus believing the Son has less knowledge than the Father?
Yeah, I was describing like the one about the knowledge,
Yeah.
like the Father excelling in knowledge or whatever, and then he brought up like John 1:1 about like the him like the word and existing with like the I forgot how the verse goes. And then I brought up like the church fathers. Yeah, so John 1:1, in the beginning was the word, and the word was with God. So yeah, I brought up like church father quotes about that verse.
Yeah. So you
And
brought
then
up Theophilus, and then what did they say?
they like brought up this article.
But did they respond to it?
No, not really, like not specifically.
Yeah. Come on,
Because
bro.
I
This is
brought up the church fathers and they're like, no, this is what the church fathers actually said as their counter argument.
all right. Here, like, okay, I'll give you like, um, here, bro. Listen, I'm gonna send you some references from Clement, because the thing is, Clement of Alexandria, he's one of the ones I haven't added yet. Because obviously, there's some church fathers that I haven't added yet to my Discord, so I don't
Yeah,
have the quotes. I don't have the quotes on hand. But obviously, Clement isn't a Trinitarian. I will just give you a couple quotes now. I'm gonna say them, but I'll send you the actual photos after, inshallah. Okay.
sure.
So one of them says, "But the nature of the Son, which is nearest to him, who is alone the Almighty One, is the most perfect, most holy, most potent, and most princely, and most kingly, and most beneficent." Uh, that's one. And then you have another one that says, um, "And since the unoriginated being is one, the omnipotent God." You have another one.
So that one means like the father is the
Here's another one. He says, "For we thus understand, I begot thee before the morning star," with reference to the first created logos of God, right?
so that's referring to the son.
Yeah. And then, uh, listen, I'll give you all the references that I just gave now, as well as others, because I haven't read all of Clement. But from what I've read from Clement, he's definitely not Trinitarian. The quote that he gave of like how the word's eternal, etc.
Yeah.
You could just like, you know what two-stage logos theory is, right?
No.
Okay, so
I
I'll
heard
explain
you
it.
talk about it.
Yeah, so basically, when it says the word is eternal, you just interpret that as meaning the word was inside the Father eternally. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. That didn't like Irenaeus or something say something about that? Like he was inside the father.
Theophilus said that
Theophilus.
explicitly.
Yeah.
Athenagoras says it explicitly. Some parts of Irenaeus probably he does as well. Not clear if he is that or not, but yeah.
But like
Um,
Clement of Alexandria says like by equality of substance. Like what does
yeah,
that mean?
they have the same substance.
One-
But you know, Tertullian says that the Father has the same substance as the Son as well, right? Like, here, let me show you from the link you gave me. Give me a sec.
Sure.
Um, okay, here. You can see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. So the same way, one in substance that we find in that Clement quote, we find it in that this quote for Tertullian. Um, 1 second. Let me just make this bigger. Okay. Yeah. So it says, because already there was a touch in the Son, a second person is word. Yeah, here. So he says one substance and three coherent persons. Okay. So basically, he says same thing as Clement, like they're equal in substance, one with the Father, and eternal, uncreated, whatever, right? So they're one in substance, right, eternally, and Tertullian says more than that. He says the one in substance, and there's three persons, right? Doesn't
Uh-huh.
that sound Trinitarian?
Yeah.
But just because someone says some stuff that sounds Trinitarian doesn't mean that you have to assume the whole Trinitarian perspective and impose it on him. Because if that's the case, then like Why does he say that? As you've seen before, probably right. He says that the Son is a portion of the Father's substance. He's a portion of the whole, right?
Oh, I haven't seen that one.
You haven't seen. Okay.
Tertullian says that?
Yeah, yeah. I'll show you now. 1 second. Aki, do you have access to the server?
No.
Okay, no problem. It's all there. So give me 1 second. Here we go. So what these guys do is they bring up some quotes that sound Trinitarian, but they ignore the ones that are explicit against it. So the same thing they do with the Bible, you know. So they ignore the explicit statements of Jesus saying that he's not God, but then they hone in on stuff that's ambiguous that kind of sounds like he's God.
Yeah,
Right?
that's what he did when I was talking about like the Father excels with knowledge. He went to John 1:1. For the
Can you hear me?
Father is the
Oh,
entire.
sorry. Can you see the screen?
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah. So he said this is Tertullian. For the Father is the entire substance, and the Son is the derivation and a portion of the whole. So when he says the Son is the same substance of the Father, now we know that's not sufficient for someone to be a Trinitarian. Because look what he's saying.
Is a portion of the whole. So does that mean like 1/3 of the whole?
Allahu Alam, I don't know what he means, but all he means is that he's a smaller portion. He has lesser divinity. And the evidence for this is like you have here. He says the same thing about Mark 10:18. Look, but who is this good God? There is, he says, none but one. It is not as if he had shown us that one of two gods was the supremely good, but he expressly asserts that there is one only good God. So who's the one only good God according to Trinitarians?
It's all three, I
All
guess.
three, yeah. Yeah, so look what Tertullian says. Who is the only good? Because he is the only God. Now, undoubtedly, he is the good God who sends rain on the just and the unjust. Matthew 5:45. Do you know who Matthew says brings down rain from the sky in Matthew 5:45?
No.
He says it's the Father. So when he's saying undoubtedly he is the good God who sends down the rain, he's talking about the Father.
Oh yeah, I pulled it up. Your Father in heaven. Yeah.
So that's how you reconcile it, bro. Like anytime they give you stuff that sounds Trinitarian, you're like, okay, that sounds kind of Trinitarian, sure. But just because someone sounds a bit Trinitarian, but then has like, is that sufficient for him to be Trinitarian? No. He needs to believe in the co-equality. The Trinity doesn't believe that. He needs to believe in the co-eternality. They don't believe that either. They believe Jesus was in the Father, then began becoming a person, right?
Yeah.
So, you added me on Discord. Just remind me later, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Is there a reason why you're not on the server?
I just haven't paid for it. I don't know.
Yeah. So it seems like you would need it, akhi. So if you can't, if you can't pay for it, right? Someone could sponsor you on the server, pay maybe, inshallah. Is there a reason why you can't pay right now, or you just haven't gotten to?
Honestly, like I lost all my money.
What happened?
Like it was related to like trading, if you know what that is, but that's a whole different thing.
What were you doing? Stocks or?
Like meme coins.
Bro, you serious? How old are you?
I'm 18.
Okay, no, it's early. You got early beginnings. It's fine. But akhi, yeah, my suggestion is start saving your money. Don't. Also, if you're going to be doing these things where you're investing and trying to trade, right? Um, I suppose you put all your money in there, right?
I mean, like you know how like you lose some money and then you think you can make it all back and then
Yeah,
you just
yeah.
keep going.
So my suggestion is akhi, with like these sort of things, you're very young. You're very like you're gonna be very obviously spontaneous in your actions and so on. You should just try to save your money, inshallah. But yeah,
Inshallah.
if you do, it seems like you do need it though. So what I'm gonna do is,
Yeah, I'd love
um,
to
I-
be on the server.
yeah, I'll ask the people on the server, inshallah, see if one
Inshallah.
like a person if a person can sponsor you, and yeah, you'll be able to be in there for a month, inshallah. Um,
Yeah, that would
yes,
be great.
yeah. Just remind me later, inshallah. Just message me, okay?
Inshallah, I will.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
What's with these meme coins, bro? Meme coin. Go sweep someone's garage for the 10 bucks. It's not even 10, it's 7. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, don't go out with a gambling perspective. That's right. It's not necessarily gambling. It's actually اختلاف whether you're allowed to do that. Um, you'll sponsor him? Okay, no worries. Message me after, Akhi, inshallah. We'll organize that. Um, where can you join the server? The server is the link in the description. Just $7 a month. There's only about 10 days left of this promo. After, inshallah, it's going to be $10 after this month. So take the time now to, inshallah, subscribe. You know, get that Ramadan freebie. They're Trinitarian in some sense, just not the Nicene sense. Yeah, you can't be a Trinitarian in a sense. It's either you're a Trinitarian or you're not. Do you believe in the co-equality? No, you're not Trinitarian. Like that's what we're saying. Trinitarianism is. Let's see. 1 second. Let me just put the overlay. Hello.
Dude, join Nick's live. You're a pussy.
Oh, bro, why are you being vile? What's wrong with you?
Yeah, because you're a coward. You're picking on people who can't defend their religion, dude.
Bro,
Join
it's
Nick.
it's literally open for anyone to join. He can join
You're
here.
just scared, dude. You're like Orthodox Muslim, dude. You're just running, dude. You're a coward.
Oh my god.
Literally
Bro,
cowards, honestly. Bring these trash arguments on the Trinity, and you'll get, like, barbecued, dude. You're an asshole.
Bro, you'll get destroyed, dude. You'll just get destroyed. Ah, so such a coward.
yeah, bro. If you want him to join, you can tell him to join here. I'm not gonna end my life and go join some other guy's live, bro. He's literally that. Bro, I don't even know who that is, I'll be honest.
Dude, you're like such a coward. Like, you're not even going on Nick's live. You don't know who Nick is? Oh, um, um, um.
You have to do that impression from time to time. Yeah, I don't mind that, bro. Like, anyone's allowed to join up. Yeah, assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. How do I sound? Is it better?
Oh man, there's a lot of like background noise and stuff.
Oh man,
Wait, let me wait. I can fix it here. I speak now.
how's it sound? Is it okay?
Yeah,
Still
that's
background?
no, that's pretty clear now.
I'm trying to tweak with my mic settings so they shouldn't be sounding bad.
No,
Just
it's better
want to
now. It's
test it
better.
out.
Are you speaking from your phone?
No, I got a headset on the computer. It
Uh,
should be good. It's a decent headset. I don't know
yeah,
what
no,
I
no, it's
got
good.
wrong.
No, no, it's good now. It's good. Just at the beginning when you're speaking, there was a background noise, but then I adjusted it for you.
All right,
That's
so
good.
if I say "Qul a'udhu," you can hear it clearly.
Yeah, that's pretty clear.
All right, that was it. All right, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. But next time, inshallah, next week. We just did a Quran lesson before. Allahu alam, bro. I don't even know who that guy is.
But bro, you're such a coward. Yeah, you don't know who he is, and you're not like joining his live.
What's wrong with you, bro? You're gonna end your live abruptly. You're not gonna end it. Like, bro, such a coward. It's not like you planned this live and you have a schedule. Yeah, he's getting mad. Shubuhat. He's like, bro, Nick, yo, Nick, please, Nick, please, you got to debate team, bro.
And Nick's probably telling him, I didn't know who Nick is, but he's probably telling him, yeah, bro, like you gotta get him to get on my stream. Then he's like, yeah, no problem, no problem, Nick, no problem. He comes on my stream. Instead of telling Nick, why don't you go on mine? He's probably coming to me and just being like,
yo, bro, you're such a coward because you have to go to Nick's stream because it's not like Muslims always go on Christian panels and like Christians never go on Muslim panels. It's not like Avery and David Wood and all these people. It's not like they never go on Muslim panels, right?
okay. Hello.
Quran is Aisha's toilet paper.
Oh, bro. See what I'm saying, bro? That's not gonna help you. You know, I'm gonna implement the Bible better than you right now. I'm gonna turn the other cheek just for you. Just for you, I'll turn the other cheek. Look how much of a coward he is. Doesn't even want to speak. Yeah, there's truth in pre-Islamic sources everywhere. Zoroastrianism, Jewish sources, Christian sources. You know, there's gonna be remnants of truth in multiple sources. That's how history is, bro. It's not like the Quran's affirming everything from the Christian sources from history. Just the seven sleepers. Yeah, they're all scared because if you use his voice, you probably sound like the other guy.
Bear, I'm gonna come on this panel and I'm just gonna blaspheme Islam, but I don't want him to hear my nerdy voice, so I'm gonna use an AI generated voice.
Yeah, that's probably how that guy sounded. I'm gonna eat that bird in the background. Bro, these birds in Australia are crazy. Okay, so there's no Christians. I'm gonna invite some Muslims now, okay? Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Alright, I have a question about the Trinity. And then I'll be dipping.
Okay.
Wait, am I in?
Bro, what's going on? Do you have like a fire in your house?
My bad, bro. It's not it's iftar, right? So all that smoke goes into the air when it start cooking. Alright, anyways, I have a question. Hey, can you hear me? Alright, so the Trinity, right? Could you actually very much refute this dumb Christian counter refutation about like how God giving birth to a son actually very much proves like omnipotence and how powerful God is. Like, can God do anything? Then they say yes, and they say then God can bear a son. So that's how powerful God is. Could you explain that?
Yeah, so if God begets a son and God isn't that son, does that son share divinity with God?
No.
That son doesn't? So how is that his son if he doesn't share the divinity?
I know, like it's called divine begetting, right? So
Yeah, it's a divine begetting, but when God begets, he's sharing his divine nature with his son, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So if you yeah, go ahead.
By the way, so all right. So by the way, you know that technically, hold up. So by the way, you know that technically very much like if God actually very much like has, you know how like Allah is like eternal, right? Qul Allahu ahad, Allah seven, right? Which means that
Yep.
Allah is eternal, and it says let me unit, and it was actually very much in the Surah Ikhlas for a reason, because if God gave birth to a son, that means that He has a new beginning through the son, right? The son has a beginning, right?
Yes. So the main thing is you would have two gods. You would have two gods.
Yeah, or you
Akhi,
redefine him, and that's
Akhi, you should save your house from burning, inshallah.
Okay, all right.
Assalamu alaikum. Yeah, so Nani, you have to connect your camera or your mic, otherwise I won't be able to bring you on. Okay. I can bring on Coptic. Hello.
Rape by
Hello? Yeah, I'm too quick for you. Oh, bro, this guy's too slow. Look at those reflexes. Bro, it's not my bird, bro. These birds are outside. Yeah, I re-uploaded it. Bro, it's not my bird, bro. It's early in the morning. They be tweeting. Not that I know of, you know. Not even like apologists recently have been. The only apologists I've been seeing is Jake. But like even Jake, he doesn't bring stuff that I brought, like that Theophilus quote. I haven't seen Jake bring it. I haven't seen other people bring it at all. I didn't even get it from like a Unitarian website or anything. I actually spent time like reading them. Right. That's the main reason why I made that Patreon, so I could continue reading. Spends a lot of time. Can I get an agnostic Turk to join? Not right now, akhi. It's mainly for Christians. And about the Trinity. Wait, can I message you? Discord or Instagram? And so again, Nani, if you want to get on, leave the stream and come back, inshallah. Here, let me help you. Let me kick you and bring you back on. And then we got Abdullah. Okay. Abdullah, you can turn off. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, akhi.
What's going on?
Nothing much. I just want to say Jazakallah khair for the Tajweed lesson earlier.
Of course, no problem, akhi.
Yeah, and subhanallah. You know, no hate like Christian love. You know how Christians say love your enemies? Yeah, I definitely feel the love from these people.
Yeah, they're hypocrites, akhi. You know what happened as well? Let me tell you something. For everyone to know here as well. I had, and these are probably the same people, to be honest. The band, they are so like fuming at the fact that no one's able to answer these responses. Right? I don't see any Muslims going in Avery's live and doing this stuff. To be honest, I don't see that.
Yeah, but I've seen a couple of Christians do this on Hamza's stream as well. They're filthy.
Right. Yeah. But what's happening is I got added on Discord by 2 people, and I always add people back usually because either maybe they're gonna ask me about the server, or they're gonna have a question, or maybe it's someone that I told them to add me in the past. So I have no way of really filtering that. So these Christians added me on Discord, 2 of them, and one of them is a mutual of the other. So I know he was gonna do the same thing. The first guy, he added me, and I was telling him like, hello, like what's going on, like do you need something? And then he just started sending me vile stuff. I'm not gonna be explicit, right? Stuff on Discord, spamming it, like vile stuff. And I was like, yeah, bro, like good argument against like what I'm bringing, because really all they can do now is just fume. They're just fuming right now.
Just
and
call.
I told him as well before I blocked him. I was like, bro, you guys don't really believe in God. Like you guys just fake to believe in God. You guys really don't like.
Yeah, they're atheists.
Yeah. They're just atheists wearing crosses.
Yeah. Also, subhanallah, you know how the Pharisees, that Jesus Christ, peace be upon you, alayhi salam, Isa alayhi salam, in the Bible, in Matthew 23, he said, follow what the Pharisees do, but not what they teach.
Yeah, because they're hypocrites. Yeah.
Yeah. That's exactly what they're. They're exactly like the Pharisees.
Mm-hmm.
Subhanallah. Well, besides those people, we can move on from them. I just had a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So regarding Arianism, do you think that the New Testament teaches Arianism, that Isa alayhi salam is God's best creation, but he's not completely God. He's just like God in a sense.
Yeah, parts of it. Yeah, parts of the New Testament, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a feeling it teaches Arianism. And actually, I'm pretty sure a lot of the early church were Arians.
Yeah, they're like proto-Aryans. Yeah.
Yeah, except for Justin Martyr. He was just a straight up polytheist.
All right.
Yeah,
All right.
and
I'm
also,
gonna get someone else on. Okay.
oh, okay, no problem. I'll ask my questions later, inshallah, maybe in the open panel. Jazakallah khair. May Allah bless you and your family and make the most of these last
Yeah.
10 nights. I love you for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Likewise, akhi. Assalamu alaikum. Hello.
Rape by Isha W.
Oh, bro. I swear I clicked it. Oh, man. This guy. Look how desperate these guys are. I guess the Salaf were wrong in this. What were they wrong on? Yeah, look what you guys are doing, by the way. You know, JJC is a Christian, by the way, and you're literally like turning him off from Christianity. But you don't find Muslims like this. Like it's like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, like these guys. He changed his name, by the way, to Abdullah bin Isa. Mhm. Yeah, Christianity. They believe you can't even lie. You can't even lie in no given circumstance. This guy's like lying about his name, putting vile stuff. Any Christian knows, like I'm not vile. Temporarily, how far? Yes. And how long depends on how many sins you died on without repenting. There's no good answers, man. Seriously, what they do is sometimes is, which I will talk about when I do this PowerPoint on the early church. Inshallah, that will have people coming to the server. I'm only going to be putting like portions that are sufficient, right, to prove that individuals aren't Trinitarian. But I'm not going to give an exhaustive list of what's on my server, obviously. Inshallah, inshallah, yeah. Inshallah, I'll do a PowerPoint on it and I'll explain their possible reconciliations. All right, there's no Christian. It seems like there's only Christians that want to like blaspheme, or come on and say, "Oh, Dean, you're such a coward. Like, why are you staying on your stream even though you only been streaming for 20 minutes? Why don't you leave it and just join someone else's stream that you don't even know of? Then you're just running. You're just running." Brother, looking back chat. Oh, can someone ban this Musa guy? He's LARPing as a Muslim. Yeah. Second Kings, the Aisha argument. I don't like, but the burden's on them. The burden's on them to show that, like the marriage is immoral. Yeah, I think I just did it, inshallah. Yeah, I think so, yeah. Bro, the Nicholas, bro. Oh my, how could I? Bro, can't believe I forgot Nicholas. The Nicholas. Dean, if I was an Islamophobe, can I be forgiven while on earth, or do I have to burn? If I was an Islamophobe. Yeah, you can be forgiven on earth for anything, actually. For anything. Strange, are you not a Muslim? You're not Muslim. Come up on the stream, we can talk about it. But don't even Muslim that's if they live a life of degeneracy and don't repent and aren't sincere in their repentance, right? You think I'm stupid? This guy's dumb. Sorry, not you, Strange. The guy that's trying to get on the live. Muslims burn only if their sins outweigh their good deeds, and if you're constantly in repentance and you're constantly praying and doing the fard, doing stuff that you have to do, then inshallah, by Allah's will, you go to paradise. As long as you have good intentions, you think of Allah well, you believe in Allah's mercy, you constantly seek repentance. That's just the recipe of going to heaven. Because the Prophet ﷺ said, no one will go to heaven except by Allah's mercy. And the companions asked the Prophet, even you, Ya Rasulullah? And the Prophet ﷺ said, even me, even the prophets, the only way they can go to heaven is through God's mercy. So if you're constantly seeking God's mercy sincerely, that's the ticket to Jannah. It's not through blood sacrifice. Yeah, but Strange, you should come up on the live. No problem. I've met Sheikh Othman? No, I haven't. I live in Australia. Yeah, Ibn Taymiyyah is a good scholar, of course. Yeah, I think he was having some beef with some Orthodox Christians on this point. Bro, I have my own live, bro. I have my own scheduled lives. I'm not gonna leave for some Christians crying in the comments. Tell him to join me. I'll be honest, I don't know who the hell that guy is. Yeah, so it's mute because it doesn't matter. Like if they agree on this principle, it doesn't matter when God reveals the revelation, as long as you can prove it's from God, then yeah. Like these are the same guys that think it's logically possible that God could be on earth, but they don't think it's logically possible God can give a revelation after a previous revelation. Like, come on. Let's see this. Assalamu alaikum. In Justin's dialogue with chapter 56, Can you refute a Christian saying that heteros, another, refers to who is called, not to theos, arguing that is grammatically possible? Well, if it's grammatically possible, it's not probable because you have to take Justin Martyr's writings in whole. Ismail, try to come up on the live, inshallah. We can talk about it. I can show you why our reading is more probable. There's no Christians coming up. Guys, like up the live, try to push in the algorithm. This live is open for anyone. You want to call your friend Nick, you want to call Sam, you want to call Avery. I don't care. You can call whoever you want. All right, no one's joining still. I'm not sure who's behind it, to be honest. Hello.
Shoot. Hello? Is my mic working?
Yeah, it works. You a Christian?
Oh wait, I can hear myself. Dude, my mic is actually so loud. Hold on, let me fix that real quick. I'm so sorry about that.
That's okay.
All right. Is it better now or is it just the same?
Yeah, I can fix it for you. So is that better?
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
Yep.
Whatever works for the stream. Yeah, I guess since you wanted to debate about Trinity or whatever.
Were you in the comments?
My argument, no, I was just watching. I just felt
All
like,
right.
why
Okay.
not?
So you're a Trinitarian, right?
Trinitarian? Not gonna lie, not really, but I'm gonna argue
So-
for it anyway.
Oh, bro, come on, no.
Just why not, bro?
The goal of this is to engage with people who are Trinitarians. It's not for like your practice debating session, you know.
Yeah, that's fair. All right. Well, hope you find someone.
What are you though?
Like agnostic. So,
Agnostic.
yeah.
So in your free time, you defend the Trinity.
What? I mean, no, not really. But this is like the only time I've ever done something like this because.
So would this help you? Okay, so would this help you in thinking? Okay, if he shows evidence
I
that
just
Trinity
think
is false.
that look, I just think that logically, if I were to like become like actually religious, I would probably be Christian. Just
Okay,
because
so if
I don't think What?
If I disprove the
Sorry,
Trinity
what?
for you, if I disprove the Trinity for you, that'll that'll totally be off your mind. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, I
Okay.
was like raised Christian, so
Right. Okay. Yeah. No
yeah.
problem. We can talk about it then. Is Islam the
Okay.
next option for you after Christianity?
Uh, next option after I I don't know. I don't know what the next option would be. So
Right.
like,
We
if
can speak about
not,
Islam next. We can speak about Islam next time. But for now, sure. Like, my argument is that the Bible doesn't teach the Trinity, nor does the early church fathers. So
okay.
you won't be able to find one Trinitarian before the Council of Nicaea that taught it. Okay.
All right. Well, I guess if I were to debate this, my argument would be like, if God can do anything, I don't think the Trinity would be impossible for him to do.
No, that's not my argument though. Listen to what I just
Okay.
said. No, my
But
argument
yeah,
is
yeah.
that the Bible doesn't teach it, nor do the early church fathers before Nicaea.
Well, I mean, I think the Bible did say something about like how, only God can like forgive sins, and since
No,
Jesus can
nowhere
forgive,
in the Bible does it say that. And also,
really,
Jesus gives the disciples the authority to forgive sins in John. So does that mean they're God?
uh, I guess not.
Right. So listen, my argument is greater than just like a Bible, my interpretation, your interpretation type of thing. What I'm doing here is a greater argument that those who interpreted the Bible for us in the first 3 centuries, none were Trinitarian. So most likely, if none of them were Trinitarian and they had the Bible with them and they knew the Greek and apparently they learned from the disciples, then most likely Jesus never taught it.
Huh. Okay.
Right.
Well,
Right.
I guess that's kind of convincing.
Right. So, like for example, Mark 10:18. Let me give you an example. Have you heard of the quote where Jesus says, "Why do you call me good? Only God is good"?
Yeah, I've heard that from like a lot of Muslims.
That's a deal breaker argument because there's no good explanation from the Christian side on that. Let me show you it real quick. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Sure. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I can see it.
Right. So 1 second. This is the context. It's just from verse 17. So as Jesus started on his way, a man ran up to him and fell on his knees before him. "Good teacher," he asked, "what must I do to inherit eternal life?" Jesus said, "Why do you call me good? No one is good except God alone."
Okay.
So he's denying his goodness here. That's due to God alone. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So could he like be referring to himself or something, or is that
Right.
like?
So I'll tell you why that doesn't. Oh, sorry. My overlay is on the way.
I mean,
Sorry.
it's
Okay.
like
Yeah.
the whole idea of the Trinity is like three persons, but like it's all God, right? Like,
Yeah. So
you know.
when you say except God alone, when he says God here, do you think possibly a Trinitarian can say God could mean the Trinity or God could mean the Son? Is that what you're saying?
Like,
So when he says, "Why do you call me good?" He's like,
um,
"Why are you calling me good? Don't you know only God is good and I'm God?" Is that what you're saying?
yeah, huh? No, like I guess that is a good argument in favor of like the Muslims.
Yeah, and
Low
I'll give you
key.
another thing. I'll even do you better. I'll tell you what the possible response is. It's basically what I've said. So what I said is, why do you call me
Yeah.
good? Right? No one is good but God alone. A Trinitarian will say, wait a minute. Jesus is just saying, why are you calling me good? Don't you know if you're calling me good that you're calling me God? So that's the response usually Christians give, right? But first of all, like it doesn't really seem like that's what he's saying, right? On that parent. That's the first. You agree with me on that?
I like what? Sorry, what? Like,
Just from a straightforward reading, it doesn't seem like he's saying what the Trinitarians say. It seems like what the Muslims say is right.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
you're actually right. Like, yeah, 100%, bro.
Okay, so if you look here, for example, the same person that told Jesus "good teacher," what does he call Jesus afterwards? He just calls him teacher, right?
Yeah, he does say that.
Right. So what does that show you? That shows you that even the man himself understood Jesus as saying, "Don't call me good." You see that?
Yeah. It does
Because
seem
first,
like you're just finding like one verse that agrees with your like worldview
no,
and just
I have multiple verses. This isn't the only one. But anyways, one verse is sufficient anyways. Because if they can't explain one verse, then that's it. Like my position has more explanatory scope within the Bible. For them, they have
yeah.
no good responses for certain verses.
Yeah, I guess, I'll have to agree. There are a lot of like contradictory parts of the Bible which do confuse me a lot. So, so it's not
I'll tell
even
you the other
just
thing.
this. Yeah.
I'll tell you another thing. So the early church fathers before Nicaea, going back to my point from before, you're not going to hear this from most people, but basically the point is that you have individuals from the second and third century. When they cite this verse, they cite it as no one is good except God the Father alone. So not just God.
All
So
right.
now they can't cope and say, "Oh, God here is talking about the Trinity," or "God here is talking about the Son." Now they have to accept God here is referring to the Father alone, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Besides that as well, there's obviously there's multiple gospels of Jesus sayings, right? There's Mark, Matthew, Luke, and John. Yeah. What I just showed you is Mark 10:18. There's another version from Luke. Luke cites it the same way as Mark 10:18. But there's a version in Matthew that changes the question because the scribes found it problematic. We can assume that, right? Here, let me show you.
Hmm. Yeah, you can go ahead and do that.
Here you go.
I got a question for like Islam. Like,
Yeah, no
is
problem.
it true that, yeah, like I've heard from, I believe, like from one video that, like, if you just stay true to your own religion, you can still go to heaven, because like on a day of judgment, Allah's gonna like create a fire where like all, like, if you're like religious but also good, but you're just like not Muslim, you just jump into fire and like you can go to heaven instead.
It
Does that
depends.
work,
So
or
so
it
so that
depends?
that's an exceptional circumstance where the person hasn't been exposed to Islam and he has this excuse of ignorance, right?
Oh,
So that's a very exceptional circumstance. But we can say in general terms, if you don't accept Islam, hellfire awaits because generally would say people have been exposed to it, right?
that doesn't seem very fair. Like, because the main issue I have with like most Abrahamic religions is just, eternal punishment for like finite crimes. Just seems kind of
Right. So
not
let me tell
justified.
you a verse from the Quran. So the verse from the Quran from Surah
Uh,
An'am, a verse of the Quran says that if Allah had taken them out of the hellfire and tested them again, they would have done the same thing. So that's what justifies the eternal punishment. What's happening here is you have you entering the hellfire, but for eternity, because had God tested you for eternity, you would have kept on disbelieving. So this is the archetype of person we're talking about here. No matter how many times the truth is shown to him, he always disbelieves. However, someone who's sincere,
okay.
has a good pure heart, hasn't been exposed to Islam, there's a possible excuse for ignorance there for that person. We don't know if Islam was presented to him, whether he would accept it or not. Only God knows, right? So you should be settled and satisfied with the fact that God will not, no one, not even the people entering into hellfire, will say on that day, from the Islamic perspective, no one will say on that day, "You wronged me, Allah." They'll say, "I deserve eternal punishment. I do deserve that." No one's going to dispute God's justice. Not even a little atom's worth would they say this is unjust. Everyone will be satisfied on that day.
Yeah, and then, of course, all the Muslims like could just get to like go to the Muslim heaven because they just believe the right thing and happen to like grow up
No,
in
no,
the
no,
right
bro.
environment.
No,
So,
brother. There's two things here. One, the Muslims, they don't have an excuse of ignorance. So if they don't apply the
mhm.
religion, there is, Muslims can go to hellfire for a certain period if they are sinful. They're very
Well,
sinful.
yeah, but it's only
Yeah,
it's only
right.
temporary hellfire
Yeah,
for
yeah.
them.
Yeah. So the reason is because there's an acceptance of God there. So acceptance of God, right, is has eternal like sort of mercy being bestowed on them, because those who reject God, they're doing a sin that's against an eternal being. doing this where you accept God is a good action for an eternal being, and where you accept his mercy, sorry. And the mercy of Allah is in two cases: mercy that is extended to created beings, that's unconditional; mercy that's extended to those that accept him after it's been made clear to them. So those that have been made clear that God exists, that Islam is true, and they still reject, that's their punishment. Those that do accept after being shown the evidence, as a reward for their sincerity and their lack of arrogance and so on, they're given heaven for eternity. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, Allah can decide all this because he's just like so far beyond like everyone, right?
What do you mean by
And
that?
well, I mean, like with every single like whether you're Christian, Jewish,
Hmm.
Muslim, whatever, right? Like, if like God is just so much like far beyond a person, like why does he care about us? Like that
Right.
that just
Right.
seems
So
nonsensical.
the
Like
only
it'd be
created.
like if I cared about
Yeah.
like a colony of bacteria, my you
Hmm.
know. You can answer. Sorry for
Now you're good. Now
interrupting.
you're good. So now you're good. So Allah tells us in the Quran why He created us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that He created us to worship Him essentially. Now that doesn't mean necessarily that He wants you to just do the five daily prayers and you put your forehead on the ground type of thing. Rather, what He's doing is He's testing you to see who are those that will excel the ranks of all created beings, right? And who are those that will be less than every created being in the eyes of Allah. So I'll give you an example. We have angels and we have the animals in the Islamic paradigm, where they have different wills. So an angel will never
Yeah,
be able to disobey God, never. While an animal is in constant eating, sleeping, reproducing, and repeating that whole sequence. Um, so there's either us being able to be above the angels or being less than animals. And how we explain this is like this: a believer had the ability to disobey, but chose not to, and believed in Allah. That's why we would be above the angels on the day of judgment. But if someone
yeah,
chooses, despite knowing God's existence, to merely live this life as eating, sleeping, reproducing, you are worse than the animals, because the animals don't have the capacity to choose to merely worship Allah and not do these things, right? And a
hmm
second point for this is we have a hadith Qudsi, so that's a hadith from the Prophet's words, but it's revelation from Allah, right? So the Prophet ﷺ says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that had Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created human beings as not being able to sin, He would have destroyed them and created a different creation that's able to sin. Why? Because we have the capacity for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to execute His mercy now. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy extends to those who are able to repent, right? And there's the
yeah,
jinns. There's the jinns and the human beings. The jinns are able to repent, but they're highly arrogant because of the substance they're made out of, and we see that with Satan. But the humans, they're more able to repent. They're able to put away that ego, right? So that's the Islamic
yeah.
explanation for that.
Okay. And if you like it, I'm gonna be honest. Like, I know this isn't really a coherent argument or anything, but I just
Yep.
think the idea of like repenting and just like going to heaven when you die, it sounds like cope, dude. Like, it straight up just sounds like you don't want to deal with the idea of death, so you just
Yeah. So
believe
have you
this instead.
looked into so we don't so the way that, like, personally, I would say most Muslims look at it this way: we don't think I want an afterlife, therefore I believe in Islam. Rather, I believe in Islam, therefore I
Yeah.
believe in an afterlife, or type of thing, right? So I didn't go into Islam and think I need a cope mechanism, so I need Islam for that. No, I first look at the evidences for Islam. I accepted that, so now I accept an akhirah, I accept an afterlife. So, for example, have you looked into evidences for Islam?
Uh, well, I mean, I've like besides the occasional apologetic video, like I'm gonna be honest, I'm kind of trying to like I literally like looked into religions before, and every time I
Hmm.
do this, like it just completely like because it there's literally so many options when it comes to religion, and like even with Islam, right? Even with Islam, there's like different sects with like, you know,
They all
Shia,
b-
Sunnis.
they all believe in the fundamental same message.
But yeah, but if they don't believe the same doctrine, they go to hell, right? Or
We,
is
we
that
no,
only
no
like
no 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 we believe generally Shias they go to heaven. Generally they
really?
would go to heaven. Yeah. So it depends. It
Nice.
depends on. So it depends on the individual, right? So generally
Yeah.
Shias, as I said before, a Muslim who's on deviancy, they have wrong beliefs. That doesn't necessitate them being a disbeliever, right?
Hmm.
So we say generally Shias are Muslim. Generally, anyone that's has wrong beliefs, they're Muslim, unless that belief is so bad to the point where it takes them out of Islam. So, for example, if a Shia tells
Wow.
me, "Oh, I believe this human being named Ali is able to control every atom in the universe and he's able to answer my prayers," obviously you would say he's no longer Muslim. But generally Shias don't believe that. Generally Shias, they pray, they fast, they pay zakat, they hold to some beliefs that aren't in the Quran or in the Hadiths, but they're not beliefs that will have them going to the hellfire. Yeah.
Like it just seems like I guess that's nice, but at the end of the day, it just seems really unfair because like I didn't grow up Muslim. Like
Yep.
again, I literally like grew up Christian, so of course I'm gonna have a bias towards Christianity.
But I just showed you
So
evidence. But you have an aql, you have a rationale to use. God's given you that. I've shown you a verse from Mark 10:18 that acts as Christianity already.
yeah,
It's
but
very,
I'm
it's,
like
it's very,
low key
it's very.
retarded though. So
Does what
like
do you mean? Like you've already, if you're able to converse and rationalize, and you come to conclusions based on your rationalizations, God will judge you based on that. Did you try to use your
like
mind? Did you try to use these rational principles that you have?
I mean,
Right?
sure, but like I can't just convert to Islam. Like literally both my parents are Christian. Like everyone I've like known is like
It doesn't
Christian
matter. It
too.
does
Like
that doesn't matter, brother. Like the Quran says, will you believe just because your forefathers believed, even though your forefathers were in the wrong? Imagine, for example, someone
I
that
just
is,
don't think it's
yeah.
fair like that like my forefathers just for whatever reason Allah didn't like, you know, give them enough evidence instead like
No, no. Who's to say that they had enough evidence? Who's to say that they tried to look for the truth? Brother, Allah says,
they
Allah
did.
says,
They looked for the
right?
truth and they found something completely different. Like
No, brother, you're telling me your forefathers did proper investigation into the truth, and they deduced that
my
Christianity is
forefathers
true.
probably didn't even know about Islam because they're like all
Okay, so they
Chinese or
haven't.
like
So as I told you, brother, again, there's an excuse of ignorance for those that haven't been exposed to the truth. You don't worry. You don't worry about people in the past. Don't worry about anyone else. Have a self-reflection as to what your beliefs are. Whether you've looked into at least the predominant religions, you could at least do that for yourself. So
yeah.
if I ask you, for,
I
if
do,
I,
and it causes
yeah,
me like way too much fucking stress because every time I do so, it's like, oh my goodness, if I believe the wrong thing, I get tortured forever. And I
no,
just think like how is that
it's not
even
like that, brother.
justified? But
Brother, it's not like that.
again,
Anyone that's in the sincere path, looking for evidence, and they die on that, on deviancy, right, on a wrong belief, but they tried their best to look for the truth, right? That's
yeah,
that's that's just the general principle by which you are able to die and say, okay, like I at least tried in my life. And God, when God judges me, He won't be able to say, oh, you didn't try in this life. Can you say 100% right now you've tried your best to research into Islam, see if it's true, see it's
I
quote?
have like I have researched religions, including Islam, and like again, because of
Okay,
the fact that like you know like I've literally like almost lost my mind doing this, bro. Like I'm gonna keep it real with you, dude. Because
so which religions would you say that? Okay, because we first have to
I'll be
agree on this
honest,
first.
yeah,
We first have to agree on this. We have to agree that God would not leave, if God exists, He would not leave a religion of His not to be preserved up until my time, because God would leave a religion that's able to be preserved for any human to be exposed to, right? So it has to be at least possibly able to be attained by the general masses. So we got Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Hinduism, then it's maybe three other
uh,
religions, right? And those are the
paganism.
predominant. Yeah, so those are like the predominant religions, right? Now I gave you that verse in Mark 10:18, right? That already acts as Christianity. We can talk about the other religions if you like, but I would like to speak about
Yeah,
reasons to believe in Islam. So I'll give you one for example, why I'm Muslim, right? So in Islam, um, there's it's the story of Moses, right, and how the Exodus happened. And the Prophet
Mhm.
Muhammad, peace be upon him, would have been, let's say he was exposed to the Bible at the time, right, during his lifetime, and that's how he got these stories. Okay, let's presume that. Okay, I'll tell you why this theory doesn't work. Because the Exodus story in the Bible, it says there were 600,000 men, excluding women and children, in the Exodus, right? So there's more than 1 million people in the Exodus. Now, let me ask you something. Would we expect historical evidence, whether it be archaeological or whatever, of these people if they were in the Exodus in the desert and there are 1 million plus?
Well, yeah, there probably would be historical evidence.
Exactly. We find zero. So that acts as the Bible. And how Christians cope with that, they say, oh, it's a hyperbole, whatever. But no one said that before. Only after the evidence has come, now they're saying that, right? The Quran, at its time, would the Quran be able to excavate places in Egypt and be able to see if there's archaeological evidence or not? Obviously not, right? You agree?
Well, like yeah, like what do you mean? Like they wouldn't be able to find evidence for the Quran?
No, no.
Like,
What I'm saying is the author of the Quran, would he have this knowledge that there's no archaeological evidence of a big exodus, being like someone that's living in Saudi Arabia?
yeah. Well,
Uh,
of
uh,
course, I don't think he would have evidence to believe in
exactly.
the big. Yeah.
Yeah, he wouldn't have. No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, would he be
Okay.
able to excavate to see if it was a big exodus or not in Egypt
Uh,
and do what the research that we've done?
no, no, he wouldn't.
He wouldn't. Okay, thank you. So, is the only source most likely of the author of the Quran, is the only source for the Exodus the Bible?
Uh, the only source, um, just not. Yeah, I don't think it would be the only source. Like
What other source
for,
would you have? There's only the Bible talks about the Exodus.
uh, yeah, I guess there could be external sources, but I haven't looked into this myself
There isn't,
because
brother. Trust me,
there
there is.
isn't.
And even if there was that external source in the 7th century, would they be able to excavate and know if the big exodus happened or not? They wouldn't,
Uh, no,
right?
yeah, they wouldn't.
It only us today were able to excavate in detail, deep analysis with looking at if there's any evidence. That's only really now we have the tools for that. The Quran,
Mhm.
despite having the Exodus story and confirming many parts of it, it it corrects this part. It says the people in the Exodus were few in number. So the author of the Quran consciously edits this historical error found in the Bible, where a 7th century Arab, how is he supposed to know? If anything, it's risky to say they were small in number, because your only source in the 7th century would be the Bible that says they were big in number. And there's a possibility now, from the 7th century till today, that we could have found heaps of historical evidence of the Exodus, but we didn't find that. We find what's in conformity with the Quran is that we don't find any evidence because they were small in number, right? So
Okay.
so that's one argument of many I can give you and show you that
All
the
right.
Quran cannot possibly be written by a mere 7th century Arab.
Uh, well, here's one thing I gotta ask. Like,
Yeah.
why? Like, Allah, if he is, basically all powerful, like Yahweh, like he could just like right now, um, like give everyone a vision of him like existing. You
Yeah.
know,
Allah
he could
subhanahu wa
easily
ta'ala
do that.
says, so there's two reasons. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, one, this life is meant to be a test. If he does that, where's the test? Secondly, the second thing is, even if people saw this, you would still have people saying, nah, I don't know, maybe it's something, maybe it's aliens. Maybe it's aliens, it's not actually
Yeah.
God, right? Because there's atheists out there, they will say
Uh-huh.
anything under the sun that is natural besides God, even if they're to be proven that there's no way naturally on Earth that if life began to exist merely by Earth itself. Instead of saying God created it, they would say another life form from another planet came and planted a seed,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
So
he could just say he is specifically Allah, like specifically, like you have to be this specific. Like he
Is
he could just say,
is it
I'm
possible?
God, I'm Allah, whatever. You have to be
Right,
specifically Sunni Muslim in order to be
right.
saved, and
So
he
is
wouldn't
it
be
so
able
is
to.
it possible? Okay, so first of all, like I told you,
Maybe some
that
people, but like
yeah. So first of all, your criteria isn't even there's no criteria that will be sufficient for everyone. That's the first thing. The second thing
well,
is
what do you
that
mean?
those that are sincere, they don't need
Mhm.
this evidence, because the evidence for God is one, found in creation, that He's one. We can deduce that just
Mhm.
from creation, and two, uh, you could just go and research yourself into other religions. If you find that other religions don't satisfy what you see in
Mhm.
creation, i.e., natural theology, then you just believe in one God and you die that way. You have more of an excuse. But if you look into religions, right, and you find that, for example, people believe in multiple gods, you don't need the Quran to tell you not to believe in multiple gods. You don't need the Quran to tell you that an idol is not God. These are things that God already instilled within us for us to know right from wrong. So God doesn't need to tell us about these things. Now, your whole dispute of Sunni, Shia, whatever, these sort of things, right? These things are apparent within the Quran. Whatever is true, generally speaking, for the fundamentals of our religion will be found in the Quran. Now, I think most people, they'll be able to grab a Quran, be able to read it, and be able to see whether the fundamentals
Well,
of the religion of Sunnism is there or whether Shiism is there. So God has given everyone the tools for it. Now it's upon them, it's upon everyone to go and do the research. But regardless of that, brother, like even if I
mhm.
tell you, even if I tell you, God knows best, God knows best, God knows best for these
All right.
responses, you still have a predicament of how does 7th century Arab do examples of what I just gave you now.
uh it's a 7th century, like that's another thing too, right? Like your whole argument is like, oh, this is all a test, and that, if we're just like, we're just smart enough, we do the research, we'll figure out that, like, the Muslims are right? But
Hmm. Hmm.
again, it's like, it seems like the test is like really unfair again, because like, it he only like, Islam really only developed in like Arabia, right? Like in like the Middle East. Everywhere
There was
else is like a
we
different
we
religion.
believe, no, we believe there's Muslims before.
So
So you understand, we believe Jesus was a Muslim, right?
Jesus was, I've heard the argument before. I don't know if I believe it.
Right. So like what I showed you right now, a Muslim would say the only true good is Allah. Exactly what Jesus said in Mark 10:18. Or they would say, yeah, Allah is the only true God. Or they would say they would worship Allah alone, like Jesus does in the Gospels. He worships God the Father alone. Jesus says, keep
Mhm.
the law. The Quran says Jesus taught to keep the law. So let me give you another argument, because I gave you the argument initially I want you to look into, which is the Exodus and then contrast with the Quran. Okay, I've looked into it. To be honest, all of the responses are cope. Right, the most someone could say is it's a coincidence. But then once you have coincidence upon coincidence upon coincidence, it's kind of cope to say it's a coincidence at that point. So
Yeah,
here,
true.
in the 7th century, at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, majority of Christians believed in Jesus' divinity. Correct?
Uh, well, yeah, because he resurrected or something.
Right. So they believed in Jesus' divinity, generally speaking. The Quran contradicts that, right? The Quran says that Jesus wasn't God, right?
Jesus, well, yeah, like, I mean, the Quran came like how many centuries later
That's
after?
but brother, that's my whole point I'm going to give you right now. That point you just told me now, that came 600 years later, is my whole point on showing you it must be from God. I'll show you why. So
Right.
again, the Quran teaches that Jesus isn't God, right?
Yeah,
Okay. Now,
it's a
someone
prophet.
that came someone that came 600 years later, being the Prophet ﷺ, someone that is illiterate, being the Prophet ﷺ, and someone that he is contradicting pretty much the consensus of Christians at his time. Because pretty much the consensus of Christians at his time was Jesus is God and the Father is God, correct?
Hmm. Yeah, like,
Okay.
yeah, he just,
Okay.
yeah.
Now, now there's only marginal sects, small sects that would have believed he's not God, very small sects. Now, if you're a prophet from God, or if you're a false prophet, let's say, sorry, you're a false prophet, would you would you confirm a very small sect that looks like they don't have any historical backing, or confirm 600 years claiming of church tradition claiming that Jesus is God, with people saying the Gospels teach he's God,
and all these things. What do you think is more safe for a false prophet to rely on if they're going to confirm the message of Jesus, historically speaking? Are they going to choose one that is pretty much consensus of Christians for 600 years, supposedly, or a small little sect that say he's not God?
Well, yeah, they would probably go with the Christians, but
Exactly. So if the prophet wants to preach monotheism, what he could have done is just don't believe in Jesus, right? He could have said don't believe in Jesus because he claimed to be God. That's the safer historical route. But instead, he said he didn't claim to be God, and he said that he's merely a prophet from God, and he taught to only keep the law. Historians today tell you Jesus never preached his death or resurrection. Jesus never preached that he was God. Jesus taught to keep the law, right? So historical analysis done in the 20th and 21st century now shows us that the prophet was right. He was right on something that looked like a conspiracy at his time, right? So again, I'm giving you a second point now. The prophet is confirming something that is so improbable, that is so like unsafe for a false prophet to confirm. How? Like, how is he able to determine that Jesus never claimed to be God?
how like I mean, people can have all sorts of like weird beliefs that they just develop. I mean, like I get like your argument. I get like makes sense that like it doesn't really seem like a reasonable thing to do to just not go along with the Christian like consensus at the time, but at the same time, like there's plenty of cases in history where people just are just like really contrarian. They just don't like believe in what like everyone else believes.
But brother, how many times would you put your bet on someone to get it right consistently when they're going against the grain? They're going against the consensus. They're going against all the sources. How many times are you going to get that right?
Oh,
Maybe once. Maybe once. Maybe. That's very unlikely, even
okay.
once. Right? Now, the Prophet ﷺ, I'll give you two
Sure.
examples. I can give you more. But I want you to ponder on these and think of the psychology of the Prophet at the time. Why would he do this? Why would he go against the consensus and do this? Not just 2 times, multiple times. He's able to filter out the truth from the falsehood and give it to us. And only now, in retrospect, can people in the modern age be able to find that.
Uh, I mean, again, like this is just your like because you were like raised with the Muslim
Brother,
religion,
I was
so you're
raised I was raised Shia, so there you go. I became Sunni.
you're raised. Well, you're still Muslim. Like that's
No,
still
no, no, brother. I was Shia, right? Then
yeah.
I went through a period where I was unsure about any religion at all. I still believed in God. Then I became Sunni.
Okay.
Okay, so I went through a critical analysis. Don't say because I'm born Muslim.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, you were born Muslim. Like Shia is a sect in Islam, right?
brother. My parents don't like Sunnism. Like I had to do what you said you don't want to do. Like they don't like the fact that I'm Sunni. Obviously, they would want me to be Shia, of course, right?
Okay.
So it's not like it's a burden for me, obviously. But
Yeah.
regardless, listen, bro. Don't think too much about other people. Think about yourself and think about the evidence that's been given to you thus far. Think about, is there a good explanation naturally for how could the Prophet ﷺ keep getting these things right? And think if you can find anything where the Prophet ﷺ gets something definitively wrong. Does he ever go
Well,
against the grain, go against the consensus, and he's wrong? My claim is no. The Quran doesn't have any contradictions, it has no clear cut historical inaccuracies, right? Where you don't fall into like any fallacies, because there are some that
mhm.
people try to bring, but they're fallacies. They're arguments from silence, and these are arguments that are bad arguments from silence, etc. Right? So
Yeah.
yeah. So my claim is you won't be able to find it. The Quran makes this claim itself, saying if this was from other than God, you would have found many contradictions within it. Why? Because the Quran is saying things that if it was from a fallible human being, you would expect many contradictions by the nature of the claims that are being made, right? So
Yeah.
something to think about, inshallah.
It is. It is. Again, I just because I don't like. I clearly have a lot of researching to do, so
Mhm.
I guess I'll be looking at this instead of like more Christianity. So
Of course, and
yeah,
bro, listen. My stuff. I'm trying to transition into proving Islam more, but for now, I'm doing this, where I'm kind
yeah,
of showing that Christianity is false. So if you want to really have reassurance and see the arguments against Christianity that are convincing from the Muslim side, I recommend checking my videos. Okay.
I've seen a couple of your videos. I know you're like really into like debunking testify and
Yeah,
believe
yeah,
it. Yeah,
yeah.
I've watched a couple testify videos, so like I guess my impression of Islam isn't really that good because of that. Not gonna
But
lie.
but you've seen me debunking him, right?
I've seen like a couple videos where like I think there's one where you were talking about debunking like because like a lot of Christians said that you know the Old Testament you know like prophesies Jesus. You were like debunking that. I honestly thought that was kind of funny and interesting. But,
Yeah, Burr, listen, I bring up these defeaters. He never he never responds to these defeaters I bring up. Like Mark 10:18,
yeah.
John 17:3, where Jesus says the Father is the only true God. Testify said the early church fathers were heretics. Have you seen my
Oh,
debate with him?
the early church fathers are here. Oh, I mean, yeah, I know it exists. I know the Kufir meme that you kind of
Yeah, yeah.
yeah yeah.
Yeah,
So
I re-uploaded the full debate if you want to check it out. With
I
timestamps.
will I will.
Yeah.
I haven't watched the entire thing, so
Right, there's
yeah.
timestamps there, and at the end is when I really press, because I let him press me on the first part about his arguments on Islam. Then in the end, I press him a little bit, and he's like, "Oh, you can go debate someone else, some random in the comments. He doesn't even know."
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
you should check that out.
I'll definitely do that. I mean, I guess since I'm only 19, there's like still plenty of time to figure out the
Oh,
right
you're
answer.
19.
So yeah,
That's
I
when
am.
that's just about when I converted to
Oh,
Sunnism.
really?
Yeah, about 3 years ago.
Well, I mean, I've like okay. I would love to like convert to something right now, whether it's Islam or Christianity, but like I do have a Hindu girlfriend. So I don't want to
Burr,
like
Burr,
commit to a
Burr, listen,
I
listen.
don't
Your
yeah
Hindu. Do you think Hinduism is rational? Let's be honest.
uh I mean I think it's cute whenever you know she talks about it, but not I'm again it's just because I wasn't raised with Hinduism, so of course I'm not gonna like care about
Right,
Hinduism.
right. But very simply, like there's one or two paths, right? When you accept
Yeah.
Islam, you can try to give her dawah. You can try to speak to her gently, obviously, and
Okay. Yeah.
try to speak to her about it. And if she has any questions as well, you can bring her on here. No problem at all,
Okay.
brother. Like I'm telling you, once you have a
Right.
true like sincere conversation with her, like most people that I've seen that are Hindu, they're open to Islam.
hmm
It's just that they haven't been exposed to these evidences I'm bringing, or they have been exposed to what Islam actually teaches.
it's just I know in Christianity you're not allowed to date like non-believers, so
That's
you
the same
know
in Islam. Yeah, yeah. We don't
yeah
even allow.
yeah. So
Yeah.
again like I don't want to like like have to you know break away from the relationship to follow
How long have you dated her for?
a couple months at this point. So
Ah, bro, come on. Come on.
yeah.
You're not that
Oh,
committed. Come on.
okay.
Are you? Like you've had girlfriends in the past, right?
No, I'm kind of an incel. Not gonna lie.
Bro, get yourself a good Muslim woman, bro. Telling you,
Yeah,
Islam will not.
Muslim trad life, dude.
Bro, Islam. I'll tell you
Alright.
another thing with Islam that it did for me. But this isn't exclusive to Islam, obviously. But what Islam does is it makes you more disciplined in life. It makes you more masculine in the sense
Yeah.
that it teaches you to take care of your body, to take care of your appearance, take care of your hygiene, right?
hmm
A lot of these things that are lacked in other religions, right? So, yeah, implementing Islam, inshallah, will make you. If she sees it improves you, that's first of all. She'll think, okay, damn, like
Yeah.
Islam is doing a lot of good for him. Maybe if I convert, it will do a lot of good for me too. And then when you explain to her the concept of
hmm
God, do you view God as one or do you view God as multiple? If she says God is multiple, you tell her, okay, if you have multiple all powerfuls, that's illogical because if all powerful God one wants it to rain and all powerful God two wants it not to rain, who's gonna win? There can't be a contradiction. It's got to be one or the other. And whoever wins means is they're a higher God than the lower God, right? So
Yeah.
these are sort of discussions you can have with her, inshallah. That's actually an
Yeah.
argument from the Quran, by the way.
Oh, I see. Oh, I mean, all right. I'll definitely consider Islam more in my search for true religion, I guess.
You subscribe to me?
Yeah. Subscribe to you? No.
All right,
Not
subscribe.
not
Put the
really.
bell on, and you can come on the next time I'm live,
For sure,
inshallah.
dude. Sure. All right.
Inshallah. Take
See
care,
ya.
bro.
Have a good stream.
You too. Bye. Have a good day, I should say. Okay. Let's get this up. Sorry, guys, I wasn't looking at the comments. Hello, Sarah.
Hello.
You Christian?
Yep, but I have a question for you about the Exodus you were mentioning.
Sorry, what did you say?
So you're talking about the Exodus, correct? You were talking about the Exodus, and it's historically wrong in the Bible.
Yeah,
What do
that's
you
right.
mean?
Yeah, so the Exodus in the Bible, how many people were in it? What does the Bible say?
About 1 million? Can you disprove that?
Why about 1 million? Why would you think it's 1 million? It says 600,000 men. So you think it's about 1 million, 2 million, 3 million? Why is it not 2 or 3 million?
I don't know, but I know it was more than 600,000.
Of course, because 600,000 men. I
Yeah.
gave a very charitable number, but what scholars say usually is like, okay, if it's 600,000 men, probably 2 or 3 million, but even 1 million. Let's work with that, right? So, would you expect evidence of archaeological evidence of about 1 million people in and around where the Exodus was?
No, because this was over 2,000 years ago, and all their bones would be gone. So I don't expect any
Yeah.
evidence.
Yeah. So first of all, we have bones from before 2,000 years ago. Secondly, we can find archaeological evidence of people before 2,000 years ago that are a population of less than 1 million, right? Another thing is that, you know, those are pretty much the main things. The main things is that we do find evidences of other societies that are much smaller, much smaller, and they have a way lesser number, right? So again, like, what do you think the population was of the Earth at the time?
I'm not sure, but the reason why I would argue it would have been a lot of Israelites is because they were enslaved in Egypt for over 400 years. So when you say the Quran says it was a small amount of people, what do you mean?
Let me ask you that, right? So there's 400 years. That 400 years period is from Joseph to Moses, correct?
Yep.
Peace be upon them. Okay. So how many Israelites were at the time of Joseph?
I can't give you a specific number.
There's Joseph, his brothers. How many is that?
His brothers, okay, well, that's 12.
That's 12. And then they would have all had children, right?
Yep.
Okay. So you're telling me in the span of 4 generations, they went from 12 to the point where they had 1 million plus descendants. Are you serious?
Is that an impossibility?
It's an improbability.
Okay, you're saying it's an improbability, but remember, there's slaves there as well. The Egyptians want slaves. So wouldn't it make sense for them to...
No. It says the Israelites, not the Egyptians. The Israelites fled in the Exodus.
Yeah, and I'm saying that the Israelites would have been overpopulated because they were slaves in Egypt, right? The Egyptians wanted slaves.
Okay, so they're slaves, right? And you have all of the new. By the way, another thing, the newborn thing, bro. If you have a population of 1 million, how are you gonna have people unaliving a bunch of small children, right? At the time when you have a population of 1 million to manage, what are you talking about?
Okay, so when you're saying the Quran says it was a handful, how do you know for a fact that a handful to Allah isn't 1 million? How do you know that?
Because it wasn't Allah, it was Pharaoh that said it. It was Pharaoh that Allah quoted.
What did Pharaoh say?
He said they're a handful, they're small. Yeah. And again, you're like deflecting because you're not addressing the problem. You just deflected back to Islam.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a problem. It's just an absence of evidence, and I think you would agree an absence of
Yeah.
evidence is an evidence of absence. So
Yeah,
it's just an assertion.
So you need to actually understand something here.
So you're talking about argument from silence, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So are arguments from silence always fallacious?
Yeah, sometimes.
No, not some. Don't tell me yes. Sometimes I'm asking: is it always fallacious? Yes or no?
Sometimes when you would expect evidence.
Okay, and I'm telling you, no. It's sometimes when you wouldn't expect evidence. That's when it's fallacious. Okay. When you would expect evidence, it's not fallacious, right? So here we just established why we'd expect evidence.
Yeah, and I told you that was a long time ago.
So have a good day, sir. Hello.
Is it me?
Sorry.
Is that me?
Yeah, that's you, bro. Assalamu
All
alaikum.
right, Dean.
Yeah.
So remember that Labuer Empire guy?
Yeah. Ah, bro, come on. Like you guys have to stop coming in the backstage. Okay. All right. There's pretty much no more guests. All right. Bro, he copes. Okay, let's get him on for the Trinity. Hello, sir. Hello. Can't hear you, bro. Okay. It's probably left. Hello.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you. Were you in the comments?
Yes, I was.
You're Muslim, right?
Well, I am, but kind of wavering, which is why I've come onto your channel.
No worries. Assalamu alaikum, sister.
Walaikum salam. I've been Muslim for just under about a year and a half, but I was raised Christian. And I've been on some other channels chatting to some brothers because I am struggling with it. And I don't know if it's just because I've had 50 years of being raised Christian and being in the Christian faith. So
Right.
I just wanted to ask you a couple of questions. Now, all my family are Christian and quite passionate Christians, and they do harp on at me all the time about Jesus being God. And
Yep.
the latest one they've been saying to me, and part of me struggles with it because I can see where they're coming from in the Bible. So they're saying that if you go to sort of Genesis when the world was created, that Jesus was there at the time of creation and helped God the Father create.
Where does it say that in Genesis?
Let me have a look. I don't actually know exactly where it says it, to be honest. That's just what my family is saying to me.
So they say like what they say is because it says we're gonna make man in our image, right? Okay.
Yeah.
The earliest commentary we have that from a church father is from the 1st century. It's from Clement. Okay. And Clement says the us here, the we, is referring to the Father. Let me pull that up for you.
Is
it's
that
on my server?
Okay. So is that similar to how Allah refers to himself as we?
Yep.
And like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
right,
We believe, and also we believe that too. We believe that man is created in God's image, but that's we don't believe. Obviously, our interpretation of that is different to what Christians would say.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, here we go.
Okay,
So this is from First Clement, chapter 33. Okay.
Yep.
So it says, "For the Creator and Master of the universe Himself rejoiceth in His works, for by His exceeding great might He established the heavens, and in His incomprehensible wisdom He set them in order. And the earth He separated from the water and surrounded it. He set it His own will. He commanded His ordinance. All His. And it says His image. It doesn't say our image anymore. He says His. So how he interprets it is His. Obviously, all here is referring to the Father, one singular person. Then you have here." Jesus always says he's doing the will of the Father, right?
Yeah.
And even the church fathers that kind of deify Jesus, they still say he's under God's will. And that's so when Clement says, "Seeing then that we have this pattern, let us conform ourselves with all diligence to his will." And actually, if I just scroll up here,
One second. Should be at the beginning. Okay, give me 1 second. I'm gonna pull up
No
First
worries.
Clement. I'm gonna pull up First Clement for you. I'm pretty
Okay.
sure he says something about God, like the Father's will in the beginning
So
as well.
where is First Clement from? Where is that from? Like, is it a book or?
Yeah, so it's a writing that Clement of Rome wrote. Clement of
Okay.
Rome is from the first century Christian, right?
Okay. Okay.
And it's the only thing that's authentic to him that we have.
So what they taught then, like first century, is different to what is taught today in Christianity.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
So
Okay.
so let me show you what he writes at the beginning of his letter. So the
Ah.
website you can find it from is this is from early Christian writings, yeah.
Yeah.
So Clement of Rome, the first epistle,
Okay.
the Church of God, which is the beginning of his writing,
Yeah.
which sojourneth in Rome, to the Church of God, which sojourneth in Corinth, to them which are called and sanctified by the will of God. So who's the will of God here? We know it's the Father, because he says,
Yeah.
the will of God through our Lord Jesus Christ.
Okay. Yeah.
So whenever he's talking about the will of God, he's sorry, let me move this. Yeah, there you go.
Thanks.
So yeah. So yeah, essentially we now have like justification to say when he talks about the will of God in the other screenshot, he's talking about the Father here. Yeah.
Yeah.
And look, he only calls Jesus Lord here. You're never gonna finding him call Jesus God. He only calls the Almighty God the Father, and he calls Jesus the Lord, who's like our Messiah, right?
Yeah. Okay. That's really good. So I don't know if you probably do know of Sam Shamoun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was watching something he said today, and he was talking about, and I've not come across this before, and he was referring to Daniel, the book of Daniel, and he was saying in there how, I think it was Daniel, where it talks about the Son of Man and the Ancient of Days.
Yeah,
and
that's Daniel 7. Yep.
Yeah. I'm impressed. I didn't know what it was. So he was implying in that is showing that Jesus' divinity, because he's going to be on the throne sitting with the Father. And I'm not quite sure how to get my head around that, because I'm thinking, well, is it not because he was a prophet that he's going to be like with God, in the end, kind of thing?
So Amanda,
Go on.
There's a couple things. One, the Gospel of Mark talks about Jesus being the Son of Man, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, have you seen my argument about Mark 10:18? How that disproves Jesus being God?
No, is that on one of your videos?
Yeah, I can give you the case now, and then you can be satisfied with the fact that
I only just found your channel yesterday, you see, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing to actually find a really strong channel for it. So yeah, I need to watch a couple of videos, I think.
Sounds good. I can make the case for you before I end the live.
That'd be great.
So first we can read Daniel 7. 1 second. Yeah. So as I looked, the thrones were set in place, and the Ancient of Days took his seat. His clothing was as white as snow. The hair of his head was white like wool. His throne was flaming with fire, and its wheels were all ablaze. A river of fire was flowing, coming out from before him. Thousands upon thousands attended him. 10,000s stood before him. The court was seated, and the books were open. So he's saying the court was seated is the persons of the Trinity, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, man, he's an idiot, because it's saying thousands of people attended, and they are the people who sat. Does it believe does it believe thousands of persons in Trinity? Like,
yeah.
I'll tell you why Daniel 7 debunks him as well. Because look at this.
That was great. Yeah.
Here we go. So it says, in my vision at night I looked, and there before me was one like a son of man, coming in the clouds of heaven. So they say this is Jesus, right?
Yeah.
He approached the Ancient of Days is God, right? The Father.
Yeah.
And was led into his presence. He was given authority, glory. Is God given authority, or he has authority intrinsically?
No, he has it intrinsically.
Yeah. So the Son of Man's given authority. He's given glory.
Okay.
He's given sovereign power.
So if he was God,
all nations.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly. All nations and people of every language worship them. Worship is a mistranslation. Yeah. Like these Christians are so mischievous. Here, let's bring a New Revised Standard Version. This is an academic translation, I think.
Yeah.
Let me search this now.
Here we go. Here we go. So you remember when it said worship him? Look what it
Yeah.
says here.
Oh, serve him. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, that's really helpful. Because that's what I was going to ask you, because that's what he brought up about to him was given dominion. And he was saying, but then, like you say, if he's God,
Yep.
you can't give God something because he already has it.
Exactly. They cope with this, and they cope so hard. Like
Yeah.
they're not able to explain that. They'll probably say something like, "Oh, this is only talking about the human nature." Like,
Yeah.
come on, or something. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much. That's really helpful. I'll have to watch some of your videos, I think, and help build up my faith a little bit. So thank you so much.
Of course, no problem. And here, I'll give you a killer argument to prove that Jesus isn't God in the Gospels.
Yeah. Absolutely. Definitely. That's great.
How long you been Muslim for, by the way?
October 23.
Oh, okay,
So
beautiful.
just over a year and a bit. But yeah, so kind of first proper Ramadan I've done because I didn't know much about the first one I did. So it's baptism of firing away, like getting through it. But I'm getting there, inshallah. I will get through to the end.
Inshallah.
So,
May Allah make it easy for you, sister.
Okay, thank you a lot, brother. Assalamu alaikum.
Well, you can stay for this. I can explain to you Mark anything.
Yeah.
Okay, so here. So I'm sure you've heard of this argument before. So as Jesus started on his way, a man ran up to him and fell on his knees before him. Good teacher, he asked, what must I do to inherit eternal life? Jesus says, why do you call me good? No one is good except God alone. Okay. So do you know the usual Christian response to this?
No. I'm sure my family told me, but
so the usual response to this is he's saying, you know, why are you calling me good? Don't you know only God is good? Because he's telling him, if you're calling me good, you're calling me God.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's the response Christians usually bring.
Yeah.
Scholar Michael Licona, he brings this up, right? So I'll refute that quickly for you. So the first thing is the man who called him good teacher initially stops calling Jesus good teacher, right? He calls him only teacher now.
Ah, okay.
So he understood from Jesus' words that don't call me good, literally don't call me it.
Yeah.
Right. The second thing is I'm gonna work it up. So I'm gonna make a cumulative case. So there's one point.
Yeah.
That's the first point. The second point is that we have obviously this in the other gospels, right? Not Mark 19, Matthew 19. Okay. Here we go. So remember his question. His question was, why do you call me good, right?
Yeah.
So in Matthew, he says, why do you ask me about what is good? So you can no longer interpret this as Jesus denying his goodness. So these scribes in Matthew changed the question. Now, how we know they changed the question is two things. The first thing is in Luke has it the same way as Matthew.
Okay.
So let me give you that. I think it's 18. It might be 18 or 19. Yeah, I think it's 18. Yeah. So it says in the Luke version, it says, why do you call me good? Same as Mark.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And another thing is the reason why we know that Matthew's distorted it, or I don't think it was original, because you know, even if you go to Matthew, and this is the thing with translations, like not just translations, but they use different manuscripts. So
yeah, they do.
For example, KJV is in the minority here. KJV uses later manuscripts and keeps it in conformity with Luke and Mark. So if you go to KJV for this, it says, "Why do you call me good?"
Okay. Yeah.
So another reason why we know that Matthew, the original for Matthew or Mark or Luke or whatever the earliest version was, we know the earliest version was, "Why do you call me good?" is because the early church fathers never quote it as, "Why do you ask me about what is good?" They always quote it as, "Why do you call me good?" Right? Now, another interesting thing is here. Another interesting thing is what the Christians like to say is for this when he says, "Why do you call me good?" They try to say when he says, "No one is good but God," right? They try to say God here is in reference to the Trinity. So when he says, "Why do you call me good?" Only one is good. So Jesus can include himself within that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now here's the refutation to that. And this is the worst. This is the most damning thing. You're not going to find it in most channels. I'd say most people that explain this, right?
Yeah.
Even Dan McLennan, the scholar,
when he makes a video about Mark 10:18, I don't see him bringing this, which
Okay.
he should like. This is a good
Mm.
point to bring, even on a
Yeah.
scholarly level.
Yeah.
So, what we find is the early church fathers before our earliest manuscript for Mark 10:18
Mhm.
in the 3rd and 2nd centuries, when they
Yeah.
quote it, they quote it as "No one is good but God the Father alone."
Okay. Right.
So let me show you that. So we have Justin Martyr. He's in the 2nd century. He quotes it here. Why do you call me good? One is good, my Father. He's quoting it. Do you see
Okay.
that?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not just a martyr. I'm gonna link you a video of mine where I go into detail on this, where I debunk
Yeah.
testify,
Yeah.
and
Great.
I include 5 early church citations before the 4th century.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. That's really helpful. Thank you.
Of course. And listen, I go live frequently now, so
Yeah. That's
usually around
great.
this time you can come on next time,
It's
inshallah.
late for me, but it's fine. It's 22 in the morning, but it's fine. I'll definitely catch up with them. Thank you so much for answering the questions. It's really helped. So blessings to you. Thank you. Assalamu
Of course,
alaikum.
sister. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep you firm. Okay. What do you guys think? Should I end the stream now? It's been 2 hours. What do you think? It's been not really any Christians coming up. Mostly Dawah and refuting Shubuhat. What time is it for me? It's 12:39. Alright, so I'm gonna end the live now, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum, Farid. How long you been here for, man? Jazakallah khair. Ban Danny from the back chat. I wasn't able to because you left, but next time, inshallah. Alright, guys, I'm gonna end now. I'll try to go live tomorrow, inshallah. If you see a stream scheduled, then I'll let you know on my socials, inshallah. Alright, assalamu alaikum.